I was always told that paid time off was a luxury and that I should utilize it when it's given to me. However, I never had a problem with my work. In fact, I very often find myself enjoying it. So I was put into a tough corner when my boss came to my office and told me that I had to use some PTO time or I was going to resign it. It was a conundrum I never thought would be so stressful. What would I do with time off? My boss said I should take a vacation, and after thinking about all of the projects I had attached myself to and the pending paternity test from a Minneapolis stripper, I decided perhaps it would be relaxing to take a vacation. So I did. I didn't know where I wanted to go, and on my first day off, my car broke down, which meant I had to get a rental car, already adding to the cost of what I knew would be a very expensive trip. But I had mentally committed to going on vacation, so I guess I thought it was worth it. The decision on where to go was easy once I thought about it. I had been east on vacations in my youth, and I had been west on vacations in my youth as well. North seemed like an option, but I don't know where my passport is, and something about Canada just rubs me the wrong way. So it had to be south. I didn't know what there was to do in the south, so I didn't have a specific location in mind, but I figured I should have some set destination if I was going to be driving. I had never driven long stretches before and wasn't sure how long I'd last, but some years ago I had fairly comfortably sat through a screening of the film Fanny and Alexander, which sits at about 5 hours and 12 minutes. I took that as knowledge that I could sit in place for that long if I did it once before, so I found a location that was exactly 5 hours and 12 minutes from my apartment. Which placed me in Riverside, Iowa. I had found my destination and began my trip down. It was weird driving a vehicle made in the 21st century, but as soon as I started my drive, I was bursting with excitement. The silence was somewhat grating, so I thought some music would help. When I turned on the radio, though, it was just songs from that guy I wouldn't want to see in a dark alley, and that girl who looks and sounds like she's trying to make depression trendy. I haven't liked a popular song since 2009, so the music didn't help make the drive any more pleasurable. My first stroke of luck came when the weather turned bad and I encountered intermittent rain. It kept the drive unpredictable. Soon enough, I had reached Iowa and got a first-hand view of the flat farmlands that I guess were interesting. I almost made it all the way to my destination on one tank of gas, but needed to make a stop. I stopped for snacks and gas at a Come and Go, which isn't funny in any way. While I was stopped, I figured I should try to look at what there is to do in Riverside since I'd be staying there for a night. So I pulled up the city's website on my phone. In news and announcements, it looked like the city was working on a street project. That didn't really interest me, though. I scrolled down and saw that last year Troop 235 finished Brad Walker Memorial Walkway. I don't know who Brad Walker is, but he must have been important if he has a walkway. I couldn't wait to step foot on his walkway. Just as I was about to close down the website, I noticed one more thing. Apparently, Riverside is the future birthplace of Captain Kirk, the fictional character from Star Trek. I had seen all of the Star Trek movies when I was a boy and only recall one of them being good. Although Disney seems to be actively trying to level the playing field for Star Trek, I always thought that Star Wars was far superior. It was something, though, and between Riverside's Star Trek Museum and Brad Walker's Walkway, I knew there was plenty for me to do once I got there. I made good time and arrived in Riverside with more than enough time to see all that it had to offer. The town had built itself around the Star Trek stuff. Posters hung from the light posts, and there were statuettes placed around related to Captain Kirk. It was a small town, and I quickly found the highly anticipated museum. It was the most Iowa-looking museum I had ever seen. I was excited to see all of the Star Trek memorabilia that the museum had to offer. It was closed, though. I was disappointed until I saw a walkway. Proceeding down the walkway, I felt like Brad Walker himself. It was fun to be in the shoes of who I assume was a very influential man. Looking back, I don't think it was the Brad Walker Memorial Walkway, though. I had a great time experiencing those two things, and it was time to find a place to stay. There was an affordable hotel in Amish country in the town directly next to Riverside, and that seemed to be the perfect place for me. I couldn't check in until 6 p.m. though, so I decided to drive around to see if there was anything else Riverside had. It did have some cool things. It had a school, which I had to remind myself of because it didn't very much look like one. There's the school. And a cemetery. Not gonna lie, I thought Kentucky, the woods of Kentucky, would be the scariest part of this trip, but nah, it's Iowa. It was neat to see both, and before I knew it, 6 o'clock had hit and I checked into my hotel in Amish country. I felt like there was more I could do in Riverside than just a little of what I had seen. I had recalled passing a casino on my way into the city and decided that it would be worthwhile to make some money for the rest of the trip. So I decided to try my hand at the slots. I lost $200 in 20 minutes. It was a lovely time, though, and I had some wings for dinner, which were fine, I guess. I also got to interact with some of the locals.
So, or we have a buffet. It's cash only as well, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay. Do you have a... I don't know who this man was, but he said that the buffet was cash only, which for some reason meant he had to take my beer and not give it back, even though I paid for it with cash. It was at this point that I knew I was in foreign territory. Upon getting back to my hotel in Amish country, a wave of tiredness came over me. Having driven over 5 hours, I related very much to the hard-working Amish people. I wanted to get an early start on the next day anyway, so I read the hotel's religious message on the wall and hit the sack. It was a lovely morning when I awoke and prepared to continue my journey. I thought that it might be a good idea to go east, and I felt oddly ambitious, so I booked an Airbnb in Kentucky, 8 hours away. I was back on the road, and my first step of the journey was done, but I wasn't prepared for what was in store for me next.